So, good morning class. So, today's lesson I will be discussing the fundamental ethical principle. So, today I will be your teacher. So, my name is Melinda A. Vidal, but you can call me Ma'am Mels for short. So, I hope you're all doing well today. So, are you ready to learn something new, exciting? So, who's ready to explore and learn something new today? So, alright. So, before we start the lesson, let us take a moment first on giving grace to our Almighty God. So, can you please lead a prayer? So, so let's bow our head and feel the presence of the Lord.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespasses against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
So before we start, kindly double check your audio, camera, and internet connections. Thank you. So for our classroom rules, kindly keep it in your mind and to remember and encourage positive behavior. So classroom rules. So the first one is be on time. Second, use your real name, dress appropriately, be prepared and participate actively, respect everyone, stay focused, and use the chat responsibly. So are these rules are clear, class? So if you have any question or clarification on our discussions, kindly raise your hand and wait to be called before answering. Is that clear, class? Yes. All right. Okay, so for your attendance, using a tracker, I can identify who is absent and present for today's meeting. So before we start, I have a question. So how do ethical principles shape how we treat the environment? So anyone from the class, go on please.
For me, the ethical principle share how we treat the environment by guiding our sense of responsibility, respect, and care for nature. So they help us to decide that what is right or wrong in our interactions with the nature world. So for example po, if we believe that nature has intrinsic value, we protect it now just for our benefits, but because it deserves respect on its own. Principles like biocentrism and ecocentrism expand our moral concern to include all living things and ecosystems, influencing us to act in ways that preserve biodiversity and environmental balance. So even the anthropocentrism po, anthropocentrism views which focus on human needs, encouraging sustainable use of resources for the well-being of present and future generations. So the ethical principles help us to become more conscious and responsible stewards of the earth. So that's it, ma'am. Thank you po.
So very good class. So now I see that you have already prior knowledge about what we will discuss for this morning. So who wants an activity? Okay. So to start our lesson for this morning, we will be engaging in hidden perspective on the nature, an activity called Unscramble the Environmental Code. So this activity we have 5 scrambled words related to different environmental views. So and each item includes a clue statement that hints at its meaning or its perspective. So your task is unscramble the word and write it in the encode messages or raise your hand. And once I call your name po, you can open your mic and answer. And after solving all, reflect on what the words have in common, and we will explore that in the discussion later. So let's start. So the first one is a view that places human at the center of value and sees nature mainly in terms of its usefulness to people. So anyone, go on.
So ma'am, my answer po is anthropocentrism.
So very good, that's correct. So next po, so it is a perspective that gives a moral importance to all living beings, not just humans. So who wants to answer?
Ma'am, for me, the answer is biocentric.
So very good. So the next is this view values the entire ecosystem, including both living and non-living parts as human life and progress. So who wants to answer, class? Go on.
Ma'am, ecocentric po.
So very good. So next slide is this is the view promotes respect for the lives of animals and plants, equality, advocating their protection. So again, it is to reinforce understanding. Anyone?
Ma'am, biocentric po.
So very good, class. So in this question and answer or activity, so what do you notice about the activity? So anyone from the class? So yes,
Kami
go
po, ma'am,
on.
that activity po is encouraging us to engage in critical thinking and word recognition while using context clues to figure out key environmental perspectives. It builds curiosity and lays ethical concepts.
So very good. So can you identify what is our topic? So I guess na alam niyo na 'yon kasi sa una pa lang is nasabi ko na yung topic. So it is all about fundamental ethical principle. Can you read the our lessons objectives, everyone? Or can anyone read the objectives? Go on.
Objectives: A. Define and distinguish anthropocentrism, biocentrism, and ecocentrism. B. Analyze real-life situation and classify them according the 3 ethical principles. C. Express a justified personal view on an environmental issue using 1 ethical principle. Thank you.
So okay, thank you. So for unlocking difficult terms, so we have intrinsic value. So this refers to the value that something has in itself for its own sake and not because of its usefulness to others. And second is instrumental value. So this is the value something has because it helps achieve something else, especially in serving human needs or purpose. And third one is moral standing. So means that being or entity is worthy of ethical considerations. So its interest or well-being matter morally, and action affecting it can be judged right or wrong. So the last is biotic and abiotic. So abiotic refers to living components of the environmental, for example, plants, animals, bacteria. Yeah. So abiotic refers to non-living physical and chemical elements. So for example naman dito is water, air, soil, and temperature. So next is we have activity. So titled Whose World Is It? So in this activity you are going to read the situation carefully and choose the active answer that reflects what principle is being followed in the scenario, and explain why is it your answer. So is that clear, class? So okay, so let's start. So scenario 1. So a government decides to allow deforestation in a rural area to build a new international airport that will improve economic activity. So this is the question. So what ethical principle does this action reflects? So A is anthropocentric, B biocentric, and C ecocentric, D none of the above. So who wants to answer? Go on.
Letter A po, ma'am.
So that's right. So the answer is anthropocentric. So next is scenario number 2. Conservation through campaigns to protect frogs in a rainforest, believing that each species has the right to exist even if they are not beneficial to humans. So the question is what ethical principle is shown? So A is anthropocentric, B biocentric, C ecocentric, D economic ethics. So anyone?
Ma'am, letter B po, biocentric.
So very good, class. So next is scenario number 3. So an environmental policy bans the dumping of waste in a river because it harms the water systems and the balance of the entire ecosystem, including humans, animals, and plants. So this is the question. What principle does this best represent? So A is anthropocentric, B biocentric, C ecocentric, D eco-efficient. Anyone? Go on.
Ma'am, C po, ecocentric.
Okay, very good. And now, for our proper discussion after the activity, we observe that how they influence real-world environmental decisions. So there are the 3 fundamental ethical principles. So the first one is anthropocentrism, and the second is biocentrism, and third is ecocentrism. So the environmental ethical principles placed on a scale running from more self-centered to human-centered. So it is anthropocentrism. So life-centered naman is biocentrism, and the ecosystem-centered is ecocentric perspective. So as we move out from the center, we tend to value other life forms more for their right to exist or intrinsic value than for the products and service or instrumental value. So they can provide us. So here are the definition of anthropocentrism. So human-centered, environmental has instrumental value. So the anthropocentrism is anthropocentric ethical principle literally means human-centeredness. So it claims that only humans have intrinsic value and moral standing, while the rest of the natural world has instrumental value. So although it is generally accepted, the biotic and abiotic entities other than human beings should be protected. So this acceptance only exists to protect only human interest. So hence, these entities are valuable only due to their provision of benefit for human beings. So anthropocentrism is also claims that human human beings are morally considerable in their own right. So this means that all the direct moral obligations we possess are including those who we have with regard to the environment. So are owed to other fellow human beings. So now let's proceed to the next second principle. So biocentrism. So yung biocentrism is life-centered. All living organisms have intrinsic value. So yung prefix or bio means life, and centrism means centered or focused on. So biocentrism literally means life-centered thinking or perspective. Biocentrism is an ethical viewpoint that values all living things equally, not just humans. Unlike anthropocentrism, which puts humans at the center of the importance, and biocentrism argues that animals, plants, and all living things, living organisms have moral worth and deserve respect and protection simply because they are alive. So it is also suggests that humans are not superior to other life forms, nor privileged, and must respect the inherent worth of every organism. So this ethical principle draws a line between a biotic and the biotic environmental components to determine direct moral standing. So yung biocentrism believes that biological organisms that we typically consider individual living things possessing a good of their own. So fall within the moral community, while abiotic factors such as rocks, soil, and ecosystems do not. And lastly is we have ecocentrism. So the ecocentrism, ecosystem centered, all parts of all parts of nature have intrinsic value. So yung ecocentrism, so this is an ecosystem centered ethical perspective that places intrinsic value and moral standing on all living organisms and their natural environment and processes regardless of their perceived useful or importance to human beings. So it regards the biosphere and biotic organisms as important as human beings. So it is also promotes that the idea that humans are, must be concerned about the whole community of life and nature in order to preserve ecological balance and stability. So the ecocentric also is the ideas about the intrinsic value of ecological collectives. So find their way into practice in many ways, perhaps most notably through environmental policies such as RA 9147, which conserves and protects wildlife resources and their habitats. So now that we know that the fundamental ethical principle, where can we see them in everyday life? So can you give me an example in anthropocentrism? So anthropocentrism, so yung example ko naman dito is situation. Ito yung situation. So yung a company cuts down a forest to build a mall because it creates jobs and helps the economy. So it because this is an anthropocentric. So nag-ano siya na prioritize sa human needs over the environment. So yung humans are seen as the most important and nature is used mainly to serve people. So in biocentrism, so this is my example. So this is the situation. So a person refuses to kill a harmless snake in their garden because they believe that it has a right to life. So for me it is biocentric because it values all living things, not just humans. So life itself has a value, either it's a plant, animal, or human. So what about the last, about ecocentrism. So, dito, for example, a community protests against mining because it will destroy rivers, forests, and animals habitats, even if it brings money. So for me, it shows because this is shows an ecocentric perspective. So we're in the health of the entire ecosystems matters, and nature is valued as a whole system, not just its part. So that's it, class. I hope you understand well our topic. So now, how do anthropocentrism, biocentrism, and ecocentrism differ in their views about the value of nature? So yung anthropocentrism value nature mainly for its usefulness to humans. So because yung biocentrism naman sees all living things as having intrinsic value, and yung last is ecocentrism. It considers the entire ecosystems, including non-living things, as having moral worth and emphasizing the balance and well-being of the whole environment. So, ano nga ba yung important para maintindihan natin yung mga different environmental ethical principles in decisions making about environmental issues? So, for me, these principles help us to make more informed, fair, and sustainable decision. So, for example, anthropocentrism, you may prioritize economic gain. So, while bicentric or ecocentric approach may focus on preserving life or maintaining ecosystem balance. So, even if it means limiting human activities. So, which dito naman sa next question is which of the three ethical principles, anthropocentrism, biocentrism, or ecocentrism, do you think is most appropriate to address today's environment problems, and why? So for me, is I think ecocentrism. So ecocentrism, so this is an ecosystem-centered, so ethical perspective that places intrinsic value and moral standing on all living things, organisms, so in their natural environment and processes, regardless of their perceived usefulness or importance to human beings. So it regards the biosphere and biotic organisms as important as human beings. So it also promotes the idea that humans must be concerned about the whole community of life and nature in order to preserve ecological balance and stability. So the ecocentric ideas about the intrinsic value of ecological collectives find their way into practice in many ways. So perhaps most notably through environmental policies such as RA 9147, which conserves and protects wildlife resources and their habitats. So next is we have quiz. So it is a multiple choice. So choose the letter of the best answer. So number 1, which of the following best describe an anthropocentric perspective? So A, protecting animals because they are part of the food chain. So B is valuing nature only if it benefits human needs. C, believing animals have the same right as humans. D, seeing ecosystems and as a sacred and untouchable. So what do you think the answer? So ma'am, I think B, valuing nature only if it benefits human needs. So let's see the answer. So that's correct. So let's move to the next. So number 2, a farmer decides not to use pesticides to avoid harming insects and birds. So what ethical principle is being shown? A, anthropocentrism. B, biocentrism. C, capitalism. And D, ecocentrism. I think ma'am, the answer is letter B. So let's see the answer if it is correct. So very good. The answer is letter B. So let's proceed to the next. So what makes ecocentrism different from biocentrism? So A, ecocentrism focus only on human and animals. B, biocentrism includes rocks and rivers, but ecocentrism does not. C, ecocentrism's value values entire ecosystems, not just individual life forms. D. Biocentrism is the belief that humans are above nature. So anyone from the class can answer the number 3. So ma'am, I think the answer is letter C. So let's see if the correct is letter C. So very good. So next is number 4. So which scenario reflects a biocentrism decision? So A, cutting down trees to build a shopping center. B, saving water because of an expensive water bill. C, avoiding hunting to preserve animal life. D, expanding roads to reduce traffic. Letter C. So let's see if the correct answer is letter C. So very good. So next is number 5. So a city bans plastics to protect marine life and keep the ocean healthy. So this is an example of so A, anthropocentrism, B, biocentrism, and C, ecocentrism, D, industrialism. Ma'am, letter C. So let's see. So that's correct. So okay, very good class. So next is for your assignments. So the assignment, meron ako ditong activity which principle guides me. So instruction, write a short reflection, 5 to 7 sentences about your own action and beliefs, and answer the following question in your journal or class notebook.